June 30, and you're welcome to News Morning here on TV3. I am Enyonam Huga coming up this morning.
Capital Sun.
The waters as result of June 29 torrential rainfall, 12 confirmed dead. Also, an anti-immigrant June 30 deadline not recognized. We have more of these stories coming up this morning. We start off with Brother Sam and
97 under the late Flight Lieutenant Jerry John Rawlings. The situation improved after former President John Agyekum Kufuor constructed the Odo Drain, stretching from Achimota to Accra. But after more than 2 decades, Alajo is back in the news, this time facing one of its worst flooding disasters. Homes, mechanic shops, retail outlets, churches and hospitality facilities were flooded, leaving several residents trapped on rooftops and vehicles. Properties were destroyed while several vehicles were submerged. This time, facing one of its worst flooding disasters. Homes, mechanic shops, retail outlets, churches and hospitality facilities were flooded, leaving several residents trapped on rooftops and vehicles. Properties were destroyed while several vehicles were submerged. Residents who responded to early warning signs moved to higher grounds. However, 2 fatalities were recorded. Communal rescue teams moved in, wading through the floodwaters to rescue residents and move them to safety. Some residents were left shocked by the scale of destruction.
And then we are saying about the beside because
amount for Japan normally be stores be in a actually amount for let's say
the impact extended to car price, where hotels, homes, chapels and motorcycle shops were flooded. Here, the 4-lane dual carriage road market as firefighters struggled to access the area, but and are calling on authorities to take urgent steps to address drainage challenges. As Accra counts the cost of the disaster, questions remain over the city's preparedness and the effectiveness of measures to prevent recurring floods. With more rains expected, residents are demanding urgent action to protect lives, livelihoods and properties. Stanley Newday, TV3 News, Accra.
That was a report by Stanley Niblo, but now we're still staying in Circle, where Armstrong was stationed, and brings us this report.
This is the same picture we saw.
TV3 News, Accra.
That was a report by Stanley Niblo, but now we're still staying in Circle, where Armstrong was stationed, and brings us this report.
This is the same picture we saw some years completely by the flood waters.
Second time in you, third time there. Me who near Bay, a best sank fire, a na joa, and Quebec for.
So far, the in Colabé 12, and I'm penny for so bear 4 because a far Colabia, a person, mammy can't be. You quite me for Colana, mammy count. And Tinian near no.
I want to mention a higher pie, it's a sort of cramp where you lie.
It rained continuously without breaking till this morning. Obviously, such volume of water pouring for over 6, 7, 8 hours. What we expect is what we are seeing now. We know waters are coming up the higher levels and are coming to the lower levels. So that's why you are seeing the Odo and the entire environment flooded.
Going forward, what do you think should be done?
I think we have a framework on what we're supposed to do. There's nothing new that I can add beyond the fact that we need to adhere to the rules and regulations with regards to building, with regards to sanitation, with regards to solid waste management, and with regards to consequence management. If people are breaking the law, they must face the consequences. Because when we allow people to get away with doing what they do, the consequence is people who have not done anything wrong suffer when there's rain and we have flooding. We're having areas in Accra that were not flooding before. So we need to really look at what is going on and address this head on. But it cannot happen just in one municipality. It has to be all municipalities involved, all district assemblies involved. All the assemblies need to coordinate.
Now we're still staying on the floods because the President John Dramani Mahama took an aerial view of the devastation yesterday, Monday, June 29, and inspected some of the areas that were affected. He was accompanied by the Minister for Works and Housing, Gilbert Eching.
We just finished an aerial tour of Accra to inspect the flooded areas. Unfortunately, the flooding has been very extensive today for several reasons. One, the recorded rainfall today is one of the highest in several years. The Meteo are looking at approximately 140 millimeters that was dumped on Accra. Last year, the maximum rainfall was 56 on a single day, and so the volumes are much higher. And so there are many issues to the flooding in Accra. There's climate. If you look at the rainfall in June, and so that's the climate side. That is an act of God that we can't control. But then there's also the engineering and the man-made causes. That is, like I said before, Accra is built between two natural bodies, the Kwapim Mountain Range and the Atlantic Ocean. And before Accra was built, the streams used to flow through this plain to reach the sea. Now, the British brought the capital to Accra, and in those years it was not a problem because Accra was a very small city. But as the population continues to increase and people continue to build, it restricts the path of the streams on their way to the Atlantic. So that's an engineering problem. We need to see how to open the channel so that the water can pass. But then there's also the other aspect, which is attitudinal and human behavior. That is dumping garbage in the drains, putting all kinds of items in the drains after we finish creating waste. Instead of sending it to the appropriate place, even in the air, we discovered many illicit dumping sites where the wetlands are. People have gone to create a waste dumping ground, and they charge 20 cedis for the aboboya to come and fill the waste into the wetlands. And when it has filled sufficiently, they sell the land to people to come and build on it. And so we need to, one, look at it from an engineering perspective in terms of how we can open up the channels, but at the same time, look at how we can identify all the buildings that are obstructing the waterways. We've said this many times. I'm tired of hearing it. But anytime you begin to take action and you start breaking houses, people think that government is inhumane. But when the problem arises like this flood, it affects everybody. And so all of us have been affected because of the conduct of a few people blocking the channels and preventing the water from passing. And so we'll call a National Security Council meeting. We're asking every district to identify, together with the Works and Housing Ministry, where the blockages in the channels are as they pass through the district assemblies, so that we can earmark those places for removal. We'll not only break the houses, we have to move the rubble out of the way, because there's no use breaking a house and leaving the rubble in the waterway. It's just the same as leaving the house. And so it's going to be quite a major issue in order to resolve the problem of Accra. But ultimately, the other solution will be to decongest Accra. And that's why we're planning
that we move some of the city out, that is the major government departments, and then also create a new center of growth so that our people will start building outside Accra in a new city instead of everybody looking for some space in Accra to build. So, but that's a long-term solution. Like I said, it's a 20-year project. They are still working on the designs. Once they do that, we'll demarcate. People can start buying plots. If they like, they can start building houses. We'll do the roads, bring the water and electricity so that it eases the pressure on Accra as a city. But I just want to express my sympathy with people who have lost property. Loss of property has been very extensive, and I want to thank the military, NADMO, the police, and the Hydro Works and Housing Ministry, and all the emergency response team, 48th Engineers Regiment, for the rescue that they did. I've seen many of the videos where people had to be carried out of their houses. They deployed their boats, and they helped to save quite a lot of lives. NADMO will do what it can to try and identify the victims and see how we can just support them in a way in the next few days. I've asked the Minister of Finance to release some money from the contingency fund so that we can do some post-flood relief for persons who have been affected. And so let me again express my sympathy, but let us change our attitude and let us find a permanent solution to this Accra flooding problem. We shouldn't become like the vulture who, anytime it is raining, he says as soon as it stops raining, he will repair his roof. And then as soon as it stops raining, he says, oh, it has stopped raining, so there's no need to repair the roof.
And that was President John Dramani Mahama, who undertook an aerial inspection of yesterday's devastation in the company of some members of the Anti-Flood Task Force and the Minister for Works, Housing and Water Resources, Kenneth Gilbert Ejay there. Now we're turning our attention to education and the impact the floods had on education. Christabel Sassez visited some schools and has brought this report.
Morning. Oh, and I just met the absence of the students who are supposed to be in this class. On a typical morning as this is where students are supposed to be studying with their books, their teachers teaching and writing on the board. But as you would have it, this classroom is empty, with no students, with no teachers, with no headmaster, with nobody. What exactly is happening? This is as a result of the heavy downpour we had this morning. We're asking ourselves, can we continue to not have lessons or we have activities on a halt just because we are refusing to put systems in place? Among those affected were school children who tell me only 2 to 5 students out of about 60 students showed up to school with challenges. What time did you leave the house?
Early in the morning, 6.
6 a.m., meaning you have to be at school by what time?
6:30 or 6:40.
Okay. And you walked through the rain. Did you experience any floods on the way?
Yes. The gutters were overflowing, rubbish too was on the road, so it let the walking hard for me because I need to kick out the rubbish so that I'll get way to come to school.
How many students are supposed to be in your class?
I think 65 or 68.
And how many are you in today?
5.
Only 5?
Yes.
So about 50 to 60 something students are absent?
Please, yes.
How has this situation affected you personally?
Actually, it has made learning hard for us because we are not many, we can't learn.
And you told me on a normal you would have eaten food on campus here, but today you had to cross the road, taking all of those risks to go and buy food. Tell us about that.
When we came, there was a rice seller, but unfortunately, she went back home. So when we're starving, we just crossed the line, go and buy food from another place.
Weren't you scared?
Actually, we were scared, but we want to eat, so you take that risk.
What time did you leave home this morning? Because I'm very sure that the rain started at dawn.
At 6.
You left home at 6. What time did you get here?
6:30.
And you've been here, it's 12:06 now. You've been here since 6. What exactly have you been doing with no teaching and learning?
We are just roaming and playing, that's all. We want the government to buy something like laptops and tablets and computers
to help you with studying.
With the learning.
At several schools, attendance levels were noticeably low. Teachers say this has affected the smooth start of lessons for the day.
I set off from Akosomo today, and we came and then we realized that the flood is too much, so we have to let the children go, and also we also have to go. That's the reason why you came and then you didn't meet anybody around because of the flood. You have to let the children go home so that we can also go.
And they are talking since yesterday, but in expecting Kolanese Ombeba, because of uncertainty, and then so now top 10 years and so them say, I call from Accra. But I'm school one only Madam Chumpane to me by school.
2 madams.
Only 1 madam. Okay, me can with there too.
For many students, the challenge was not just the rain itself, but the impact it had on their ability to get to school. The Ghana Education Service says it is considering policy responses for weather-related disruptions to schooling.
Not only weather-related disruptions, but emergency cases generally. So, say fire outbreaks, flooding, rainfalls, or any and in the conflict-prone areas to conflict situations and all that. So yes, there's general management discussions on the table at the moment to look at emergency responses, emergency situations, and how we can quickly come in to respond.
While the rains may ease out, the impact on teaching and learning has already been felt. And this is a reminder of how quick teaching and learning can be affected once the weather is disrupted. Christabel Success Trevor, TV3 News, Accra, New.
Now, the workforce was not spared. Cancelled meetings, postponed appointment, workers not showing up for work. The impact of Monday's morning's torrential rainfall was indeed felt. Financial experts and economists fear the worst could happen and the nation could lose millions should this persist without immediate intervention. A report by George Queen, who was at the ministries and has assessed the situation and reports.
It's a bad day for Gladys Adajasa. She made a loss of more than 800 cedis because workers failed to show up at work. Gladys is into the sale of provisions and breakfast within the Ghana Revenue Authority headquarters in Accra. She makes 1,600 cedis on a good day, but today she made a little over 600 cedis.
Oh, my bokene.
I've run at a loss today. Most of the workers didn't show up because of the rains. It's hard for them to make it when the rain starts early. It's difficult for them to leave home.
Her assistant, Ruby Nubi, has equally been denied her usual tips from workers who take breakfast from their joint.
I was not happy things like this happen. So, in case something like this happen, them paying us too is very difficult, and they will also get lost at that place too.
The impact of today's torrential rainfall is glaring, and the ministries, of course, is virtually deserted. Staff failed to show up due to the rains, and I know some employers actually sent out alerts to their staff to stay home if possible, stay and sound, and those that can work from home should do so. Obviously, productivity has been affected. Some offices were under lock and key, with security absent from post. For those that were able to make it to work, it was because they set off early. Places like Ashie, Ebri, Adontin, Oyarifa, Dodowa requires workers to leave their homes early in order to beat traffic.
I left around 5:30, so I think I beat the flood a bit. Just about 2 or 3 people, but the rest couldn't really do anything today. In fact, we had a meeting with the ministry, it couldn't come off.
I left home by 6.
Okay.
So because I left home 6, there was no way I could return. Even though I was locked up at Shiashi, I tried and maneuver my way. So I thought today everything will run smoothly, but I realized that, hey, the rains have hijacked everything and we couldn't do anything today.
I left home early. I was caught up by the rain on my way, but I was able to get to work before it gets more intense. It's very bad, and we are hoping that things will get better or improve, because if it continues this way over a longer period, it's going to affect a lot of activities, and Ghana's productivity will critically be affected.
There were those that acted on the alert from the Ministry of the Interior, cautioning them to stay indoors if in a safe location, stressing on the severity of the floods. Amina sells soupy meals within the premises of the Office of the Attorney General and Ministry of Justice and the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources. She's taking home what she could not sell, that is what they will use as supper. Already, the impact has been dire, and what is worse is that Ghana could be losing millions of cedis should this persist. Financial analyst Joe Jackson fears the risk of real significant productivity losses will come to play if there are no immediate interventions. The Chief Executive Officer of Dayless Finance also encouraged private sector companies to contribute to their flood-affected workers.
I quickly declared today a work from home day for Dayless staff. That meant that productivity today is impacted. If the rains don't continue unabated, then maybe productivity impact will be insignificant. But if it continues, then the risk of real significant productivity losses will come into play.
Many also believe the time to act is now.
Now we're taking our attention from the floods as government cautions prospective Ghanaian travelers heading to exercise caution due to heightened anti-African campaigns. And that's how we end News Morning here on TV3. For more news, please check our website at 3news.com. I am Enyunam Halga. New Day continues.
house was totally submerged in the water. And Chado, she lives in Chado, and her only blessing, I won't say luck, because it has nothing to do with luck.
Yeah.
Her only blessing was that the kids were writing exams, so they had to leave the house extra early yesterday.
Wow.
Normally, they would have been here watching Newday
Yeah.
up until we start the big issue when they leave the house. But yesterday, the kids were writing exams and they left early. I'll send the photos so we can project them. Everything is totally gone. And she's got another tenant with her who's got about 3 cars in the area.
Wow.
He moved one, and it's a 4x4. It's an SUV. So it's 3 of them. He moved one to the roadside. By the time he came back to rescue the 2, they were all
gone.
totally submerged. And from what we are told, you know, yesterday we were wondering why people did not evacuate their homes or move when the rain started. From what we are told and from what I understand this morning, the rains do not gradually just come. It comes with some force, and by the time you realize it's too late. That's what happened yesterday. I'm not sure what your story is this morning, but from the understanding Randa is giving me, it just, I mean, if it had started slowly, that I probably collected a few times and then just ran out of the house. But it just gushes out at one time and almost everything is gone. I'm not sure what the death toll is this morning. We can only imagine, but we've got some figures this morning. And we'll go through it.
Yes, there are some figures coming from the Ghana National Fire Service, and they give us a breakdown of not just those who have died, but also the number of people that they rescued within Accra and Tema. So emphasis within Accra and Tema. And they say that total persons rescued safely or safely evacuated over 479. So these are individuals who live within Accra and Tema. Also, flood-related deaths, they have confirmed, as in the fire service have confirmed 4 deaths. 4 individuals, unfortunately, have lost their lives. And yesterday, Kuki, as we heard from the fire officers, there were at least 2 fires, one at Circle and one at Sakaman, as was confirmed by the PRO of the fire service. So we understand that an individual also died through fire. And so in total, we have about 5 people who have been confirmed dead through fire. And so in total, we have about 5 people who have been confirmed dead, unfortunately, through yesterday's flooding. And of course, another person dying from fire. So the total deaths will be 5 per the data given us by the Ghana National Fire Service within Accra and Tema. And so we are not considering the other parts of the country or the other regions. These are within Accra and Tema, just so you know. And then we understand that 1 person has also been injured. In terms of building collapse survivors, there were about 12 individuals able to get which specific areas we had these buildings collapsing. But all these data coming from Accra and Tema, and then 1 missing person. So far, that's what we have, unfortunately, from yesterday's incident from the Ghana National Fire Service.
And unfortunately, if you've got plans of traveling from probably Accra to the other regions from the new plant station, you may not get a car or a bus to take you to Kumasi and all the other parts or some other parts of the country, because yesterday, almost 90% of all the buses, yes, and the trotros we have in this country were submerged, especially in the Circle New Plant Station area. And we are receiving reports from Malam as well. The Malam station, almost all the cars at the Malam station were also submerged in the flood waters yesterday. And I can imagine that it's going to have a ripple effect on transportation today. We'll definitely come out there and see exactly what the picture is this morning. But most of you, we are advising, are going to be experiencing transportation challenges this morning, because most of the vehicles, which ordinarily would have carried you from one station to the other, including the 37 station right here, were all submerged in the flood. So please take notes this morning. There may be challenges with your transportation, especially if you're commuting from the Malam area, from the 37 area. And then if you intend to travel from Accra to Kumasi, Takoradi, Cape Coast, and all those environs using the transport systems we have here at Circle, including the VIP buses, the OA buses, and privately owned buses, you may be encountering some challenges this morning because the cars are not working. And no mekano it will trim because it's more of our local folks who use these means of transportation. And no pay say idea and say intention say to kwai Kumasi, Takoradi, Tamale, Cape Coast. Now use New Plant Station buses OA any VIP and no pay ebia into me maso because endra buses ningina submerge. How do you say submerge? Ningina exactly ekonsionase enti yesremo anope just in case you say ebia opese utu kwan anopatututu ya you may want to consider because udu station honomu a cars ningina asay nsuo ewura seat no mu engine no mu ene niam nyina malam nso anope mo use malam station ebia anopa we no you may have to use other means ebia ose ofa cars and dra nyamiadum na eni hono eno na ebia anope Uber and I say all the other ones no all the other cab hailing services you need to use them this morning because anope dear unfortunately endra nsuo ninti no cars ni nyina amem ewo nsuo na say. And I'm wondering if these drivers would even be able to salvage some of these engines because they've sat in the water for a very, very, very long time. And I just can't imagine what's happening to the spare parts of these cars, especially the engines. I mentioned it yesterday that we are seeing floods, but the ripple effect is going to be almost 360. It's going to be full circle because when it happens like that, your health is at risk. Trotros and public transportation or even private transportation would not work. Our hospitals will start getting full. There will be no food because yesterday food vendors could not sell anything at all. So it's a 360 ripple effect and we'll begin to feel the effects of the floods yesterday. And I was happy to see the president yesterday taking an aerial view in that helicopter yesterday just to understand the intensity of what happened yesterday. And the conclusion, basically three things. It's not just an engineering problem. Yesterday, we had much more rains than usual. I mean, last year, nearly the entire city was submerged. Yesterday, nearly the entire city gave up yesterday to the floods. I think we can up the sound. The president was giving us the history, telling us about the engineering. Exactly. Let's just take a listen to what the president found yesterday after that aerial view.
We just finished an aerial tour of Accra to inspect the flooded areas. Unfortunately, the flooding has been very extensive today for several reasons. One, the recorded rainfall today is one of the highest in several years. The Meteo are looking at approximately 140 millimeters that was dumped on Accra. Last year, the maximum rainfall was 56 on a single day. And so the volumes are much higher. And so there are many issues to the flooding in Accra. There's climate. If you look at the rainfall pattern from 2024, 2025, 2026, you see that increasingly every year we're getting more rain in Accra than we used to get. GMETs say that in 2024, for a period of 30 days in June, we had 85 millimeters of rain. And then in 2025, it increased to 172. And then in 2026, for the same 30-day period in June, it increased to 333. And so the waterways are not getting a chance to recover before more rain is dumped. And the wet days are more. Out of 30 days, 22 days, it kept raining. And so there were only 7 dry days or 8 dry days in June. And so that's the climate side. That is an act of God that we can't control. But then there's also the engineering and the man-made causes. That is, like I said before, Accra is built between two natural bodies, the Kwapim Mountain Range and the Atlantic Ocean. And before Accra was built, the streams used to flow through this plain to reach the sea. Now, the British brought the capital to Accra, and in those years it was not a problem because Accra was a very small city. But as the population continues to increase and people continue to build, it restricts the path of the streams on their way to the Atlantic. So that's an engineering problem. We need to see how to open the channel so that the water can pass. But then there's also the other aspect, which is attitudinal and human behavior. That is dumping garbage in the drains, putting all kinds of items in the drains after we finish creating waste. Instead of sending it to the appropriate place, even in the air, we discovered many illicit dumping sites where the wetlands are. People have gone to create a waste dumping ground, and they charge 20 cedis for the aboboya to come and fill the waste into the wetlands. And when it has filled sufficiently, they sell the land to people to come and build on it. And so we need to, one, look at it from an engineering perspective in terms of how we can open up the channels, but at the same time look at how we can identify all the buildings that are obstructing the waterways. We've said this many times, I'm tired of hearing it, but anytime you begin to take action and you start breaking houses, people think that government is inhumane. But when the problem arises like this flood, it affects everybody. And so all of us have been affected because of the conduct of a few people blocking the channels and preventing the water from passing. And so we'll call a National Security Council meeting. We're asking every district to identify, together with the Works and Housing Ministry, where the blockages in the channels are as they pass through the district assemblies, so that we can earmark those places for removal. We'll not only break the houses, we have to move the rubble out of the way, because there's no use breaking a house and leaving the rubble in the waterway. It's just the same as leaving the house. And so it's going to be quite a major issue in order to resolve the problem of Accra. But ultimately, the other solution will be to decongest Accra. And that's why we're planning that we move some of the city out, that is the major government departments, and then also create a new center of growth so that our people will start building outside Accra in a new city, instead of everybody looking for some space in Accra to build. So, but that's a long-term solution. Like I said, it's a 20-year project. They are still working on the designs. Once they do that, we'll demarcate. People can start buying plots. If they like, they can start building houses. We'll do the roads, bring the water and electricity, so that it eases the pressure on Accra as a city. But I just want to express my sympathy with people who have lost property. Loss of property has been very extensive, and I want to thank the military, NADMO, the police, and the Hydro, Works and Housing Ministry, and all the emergency response team, 48th Engineers Regiment, for the rescue that they did. I've seen many of the videos where people had to be carried out of their houses. They deployed their boats, and they helped to save quite a lot of lives. NADMO will do what it can to try and identify the victims and see how we can just support them in a way in the next few days. I've asked the Minister of Finance to release some money from the contingency fund so that we can do some post-flood relief for persons who have been affected. And so let me again express my sympathy, but let us change our attitude and let us find a permanent solution to this Accra flooding problem. We shouldn't become like the vulture who, anytime it is raining, he says as soon as it stops raining, he will repair his roof. And then as soon as it stops raining, he says, oh, it has stopped raining, so there's no need to repair the roof. This time should be different.
making our motherland a better place to live. Tell me where we gonna run go when them say we have to pay for the oxygen we breathe. Answer me now, Mr. Big Man. You know this everybody want to go and go off for it. A simple life. It's all we want to live. Give me food, give me clothes, give me love, and give me shelter, shelter. Simple life. It's all we want to live. Give me food, give me clothes, give me love, and give me shelter, shelter. Yeah. If you hear me, please. This is when you sang me, I sing from the deep. Down in me heart and me, I feel like to weep. Only but thing I go on where the people can't keep, can't sleep. But the burn it and become your self-esteem. You are the one to make life easy, same you and make it harder. After everybody mash up and there is nowhere to scatter. Tell me where we gonna run go after making our motherland a better place to live. Tell me where we gonna run go when them say we have to pay for the oxygen we breathe. Answer me now, Mr. Big Man. You know this everybody want to go and go off for it. A simple life. It's all we want to live. Give me food, give me clothes, give me love, and give me shelter, shelter. Simple life. And give me shelter, shelter. Well then, enough of them sell out, burn them sell out. Be selfishness, we see them sell out. Speedy life, them tell a lie. The truth they will always try to hide. Yeah, call a spade and don't call it a dagger. Living big at the expense of a brother. You don't have no pride, you think you rich, you is a robber. God never forsake the poor boy. Call a spade and don't call it a dagger. Living big at the expense of a brother. You don't have no pride, you think you rich, you is a robber. God never forsake the poor. Tell me where we gonna run go after making our motherland a better place to live. Tell me where we gonna run go when them say we have to pay for the oxygen we breathe. Answer me now, Mr. Big Man. You know this everybody want to go and go off for it. A simple life. It's all we want to live. Give me food, give me clothes, give me love, and give me shelter, shelter. Simple life. It's all we want to live. Give me food, give me clothes, give me love, and give me shelter, shelter. Rango, yeah, I beat some air. Tell me play, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh. Tell me where we gonna rango after making our.
The morning after nearly the entire city of Accra was submerged or gave up to the will of the flood waters, we just saw the president complete an aerial view of what happened yesterday. We saw some fallouts as well. Beatrice is on standby by the dashboard to give us what to expect as to the weather, but there's a video, and I've also officially received, unfortunately, the number of casualties from ADO1 Alex Kinate of the Ghana Fire Service. Unfortunately, as at this morning, he will be here in studio to confirm for us, but as at this morning, 4 deaths have been recorded at Odona, 2 at Agbogboloshi, 2 at Alajo, 2 at Tema Newtown, 1 in Achimota, Abofu, bringing the total number of deaths or casualties from the floods yesterday to 12. 12 people have unfortunately lost their lives, and this is confirmed from Alex Kinate, who is part of the PRO team of the Ghana National Fire Service. He will be here in studio this morning. But let's take a look at the video of today's forecast before we come to you, Beatrice. that's an 18-hour weather forecast from the Ghana Meteorological Agency, telling you what the temperatures are going to be looking like today. But of course, we here at TV3, we have received the details, and Beatrice is by the dashboard to get into the details for us this morning.
Indeed, Cookie, and when you look at it, of course, the video we just watched told us that it's going to be an 18-hour forecast, which is what we got yesterday. And the summary, which you again just saw just a few seconds ago, says mostly cloudy conditions will dominate over most areas within the country, with mist and fog forming over the coast, forest and hilly areas in the early hours of the morning. In the early hours of the morning would include this period that we are talking right now, right here in studio. But it says, however, a few places within the coastal sector, including Accra, Cape Coast, of course, some areas in Tema, are expected to experience slight to moderate rains or thunderstorms. Now, breaks of sunny are anticipated as well over most areas as the day progresses, paving way for thunderstorms with rain over the coast and middle and northern sectors from the afternoon to evening. Now, if you watched the video, you saw just the temperatures. And yesterday, of course, we were told by the same data given by the Ghana Meteorological Agency that we're going to receive about 60% of rain in Accra. When we saw the president talking, he mentioned about 66 based on the confirmation he had from the Ghana Meteo Agency. Today, fortunately, the rains have reduced in terms of percentage. And so in Aplao, as you had yesterday, was 60%. Now today, we should be expecting about 40% of rains in Aplao. In Angloga, yesterday, we had about 60% as well. Today, it's dropped to 40%. And also in Accra, and this is where we've had most of the problem with the flooding, the entire city almost really submerged under the rainwaters. Now, today, we're expecting about 40% of that. And if you watch the temperatures earlier, we are going to have, you know, not just the rains, about 40%, but also cloudy weather, as well as a bit of sun as the day progresses, based on the data we've been given by the Ghana Meteo Agency. So yes, instead of 60 like we had yesterday, confirmed by the president as moving from 60 to 66, now we have 40%. And Kasua also experienced really huge devastation. Today, we should be expecting about 40% of rains in Kasua. Winneba, same 40. So it looks like the 40% runs through really most of the areas within the country. Takrade, Aximho, Koforidia, Achimda, Kwewutafo, Kumase. Yesterday, getting to the evening, we had reports that Kumase has started receiving the rains as well.
Some parts of Accra also received rain last night. Yes. Some parts of Accra.
Yes, and yesterday, if you remember, when we were in the morning live here, Ibrahim Abubakar told us that the rains had not started yet, but getting to the close of day, they started receiving rains. But of course, Kumasi is also going to receive the same 40% that generally we seem to be getting ready for across the country. And of course, we have Ketekrachia, Tebubu, Ejura, Kintampo, Goso, all of these areas. Now, if you get to the very northern part of the country, Sampa, and Yendi, for instance, is going to be mostly cloudy, so there's a possibility of no rains. If you remember yesterday, again, we had one of our viewers telling us that in the Upper East region, they were enjoying, the sun. And it looks like that perhaps is going to be spreading across the country. So Yendi is going to be mostly cloudy. Tamale, also mostly cloudy. Bole, the same. And Damango, and you have Bolgatanga, Nanlerigu, Wa in the Upper West region, Jirapa also mostly cloudy. Now, if you look at Wa, yesterday we had some messages from Wa as well that they had started receiving rains, but the devastation obviously was not as massive as we saw in Accra. Of course, the rippling effects that we're beginning to witness even from last night through this morning, I believe, to the rest of the day. But today, Wa in the Upper West region will not have any rains per what we are experiencing in the data that we've been giving. Now, again, the state of the sea is rough. Yesterday, it was in red. And when I was talking about the Accra weather, I did mention the difference in colors. When it is green, you're going to have the normal rains. When it goes to yellow, you're beginning to move into the danger zone. Orange, that is like dangerous. And then the red is really the most really dangerous. Now today, we are getting the information and it's marked in yellow specifically just to let you know the level of danger. Is going to be rough in terms of the sea. But yesterday it was red. And they said that it was dangerous. And then it says probability of occurrence. Okay, so that's just explaining really some of the numbers that they use. So if you're in Accra or any part of the country, this is what it's going to look like today. And so just take precaution once again because we're still in the rains. We heard the president say that, I mean, if you look at 31 days, we've had about, is it 20 plus?
Yes, rains.
Rains.
Yeah. So we've just had 7 free days.
Exactly,
actually.
yes.
Without
so
rain.
I believe that the precaution or the warning to be cautious perhaps should remain in force.
And he also reiterated that now, urgently, all the buildings in waterways would have to be demolished. And not just the demolishing alone. After it's done, the debris would have to be collected to make way for the passage of water. And he stated again that when demolition starts, we are the same people who will start crying because we want to protect the investments that have gone into all these buildings. But from what we are all seeing now, I don't think that there should be any protest at all to save all of us. Year in, year out, perennially, this has happened in the country. But I think in the last 20 years, yesterday was the biggest one that we have experienced in the last 20 years. And the usual Alajos, Capri, Seko are the places that usually, Kaneshi are the places that usually will get flooded, but we are getting areas like Tema. For Tema to get flooded, it means that the situation is really
because
dire.
Tema is a well-planned community.
Well-planned, exactly. And Tema never used to get flooded. And for Tema to get flooded yesterday, for the Volta region to be flooded yesterday, it means that urgently we all must act. And I saw an official from EPA speaking and saying that as for the ban on the styrofoam, I cannot even wait for the 1st of January. Yesterday I had a TikTok session with some of my followers, and everyone was in agreement that the styrofoam ban should be now if it's possible. Yes, we understand that many people have imported styrofoams into this country. A lot of them have not been used yet, and the transition must be gradual. We all understand. Then it means that immediately it's waste management that must be considered with all the scrutiny and with all the security we can come along within this country. Because to record as high as 12 people losing their lives, and I'm sure by the time Alex Kinate comes in, unfortunately the numbers as indicated by him would go high, because it's not every part of the country that has coming in terms of the death toll. And if you are a Ghanaian, a proper citizen and not a spectator, then all of us must start acting now, because now we've seen that it's not only an engineering problem, it is also attitudinal. The president has mentioned it time and again, and mentioned it yesterday as well. We must stop our behavior. Behavioral change is the number one thing that we must stop, even as we expect more rains. Phone lines have been activated. Your messages are also coming in. Kwesi Jan Tutu on Facebook says, it's now a wake-up time. Let every citizen arise and protect our land by exposing all those who contribute to blocking our waterways. Drabofor, Fita 4, Drabofor means, Drabofor is what's in tree. Fita 4, Edredi 4, that's what he's written. We all should rise and defend Ghana. This morning, I can imagine the number of vehicles making their ways already to the mechanic shops.
Yeah.
I can imagine the pressure on spare parts this morning.
Not even they have the cash ready to deal with the problem.
That's the problem, because unbudgeted costs.
Yeah.
You haven't budgeted for it, and this is what's happening. Including people who've lost clothing, TV sets, refrigerators, home appliances. It's devastating.
Yeah.
It's really, really very sad what has happened.
I mean, this morning you were talking about your friend.
Yes,
in Chado.
Rwanda.
Yes,
Rwanda.
and I was so concerned because I think that it is time we held developers accountable as well.
Yes.
Because in areas like Chado, I can tell you, because I have inquired, that 70 by 100 size of a piece of land would go for $150,000. And that is a land that has not even been developed yet.
Wow, just a land?
Just a land. And if you look at how much rent is costing in these areas, especially in Chado and the other areas that were affected, it's not a joke. And so I think that if people who live in these areas, and we saw the videos,
we did,
cars submerged and all of that, there should be a way of developers, after paying these huge sums of money, either buying the piece of land or renting, they should be held accountable for this.
These are expensive. Look at how people are swimming in their homes. It can't just go
waste like that. It just can't go waste. People, the developers must be held accountable, because I trusted that the place I was coming to buy or rent was good enough.
Exactly.
So if I give you money and these things, they happened on your property, something that I paid money for, I think we should look into they being held accountable for this.
Patrick has joined us on the telephone lines. Good morning, Patrick. Where do you live and how were you affected by the floods yesterday? Hello, Patrick. Good morning.
Hello. Good morning.
Yes, good morning. Patrick, were you affected by the floods yesterday?
Oh, actually not directly, but some relatives have been in Accra, tried contacting some of them. They were affected.
Okay.
It hasn't been a good news at all.
Okay. Go ahead and talk to us. Which of the issues do you want to address this morning? Is it the landfill site? Is it the engineering, or it's the attitudinal change that you want to talk about this morning?
Actually, one thing is the attitude. We actually not living a life that feels we've been experiencing this. It seems every time this will happen, then we forget so soon. We go back to the bad attitudes, the way we done our refuse, the putting up structures anyhow, without proper engineering, kind of a deeper look. It's hectic, honestly. I remember this year, demolition that we're doing. A lot of people were talking
Patrick, you may want to reposition and call us back, because it was a little difficult to hear you talk to us, Patrick. Noel Lagbasi on Facebook says, results of indiscipline. The I don't care lifestyle is what is costing us all of these. Dumping rubbish anyhow. Nature is what you cannot cheat and go scored free. And Aziz Donla says the flooding situation isn't only in Accra but in other areas, particularly in the Upper West region as well. Wow. Indeed, the district assemblies must take up responsibilities and duties to protect lives and livelihoods across the country. Happy birthday to lawyer Abu Juan, Alaji Alassane Bangu, and Prof. Mahmoud Khalid. And I'm told Albert has joined us. Hopefully, Albert's line is audible enough for us to hear. Albert, good morning, if you can hear us.
Good morning, my sisters. I hope we are doing well.
We are hanging in. Most of our family and friends have been affected, and it's going to have a ripple effect on us as well. But we're hanging in.
Yes, the point is that let us don't talk about people affected. Let us talk about solutions rather. Because we have been talking about this police, that police for all this while. No solution to the problem. I have worked with NANMO for 10 years before. And I know what is the problem. You know that in Adenta alone, Adenta entries, Nkrumah had over 18 dams. And these dams are not meant for only agricultural purposes. Some are meant to collect or to receive the first running waters from the mountains. I'm talking of Abokubi. I am talking of Amahia. I am talking about Fulani community. I am talking about Amangfrum. I am talking about Ashi. I am talking about Adenta. I am talking about Rusix. I am talking about Lakeside. I am talking about University Farm. All these places had dams, which when I was working in Nanmo between 2010 and 2020, these places are reserved. I quite remember I was in charge of operation when the Room 6 dam was burst last 2010. You remember? We had 2 casualties. I was in charge. All these places have been filled now, and there are high-rising buildings situated there, my sister. All these dams have been filled by human beings. And we had work department in Adenta municipality. We have so-called engineers. We Nanmo, we go around and look for flood-prone areas and identify it, bring to the work department to work on. Somebody is putting out a building at waterways here. Somebody is refilling this dam. When we report, we rather make money for people. The truth is the truth. You will see a building they have written stop work, but it has continued. Why? But why? If they say stop work, what does it mean? Produce permits. Permits have not been provided, but they have completed those buildings and people are living in it. And ironically, those who live in these properties are not the owners of the properties, like the one you show at Shadow. The only somebody says the developer come to buy a waterways, block it, put at a storage building there, and rent it for innocent people. And he and the wife is staying somewhere comfortably. So the problem is that I am saying that they should give demolition exercise to Ghana Armed Forces. Listen to the word, Ghana Armed Forces, not any politician. Because we, the politicians, a member of NDC, we are part and parcel of this problem. If we want to demolish this one, oh, it's for chairman, it's for chairman's sister, it's for secretary's husband, it's a this. I am telling you the truth. People will not tell you the truth. Let's give it to Ghana Armed Forces to do the demolition within.
Points well made from an angle of experience.
Yeah.
Thank you. But I'm told Benedicta has joined us.
Benedicta, good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us. Please tell us where you're calling us from and what the situation is like.
Good morning, Cookie. I'm Benedicta calling from Takrady.
Yes. How is the situation like in Takrady this morning?
Yeah, but it's cold. It's normal. Unlike Accra yesterday, that experienced so much flood. We were even afraid because we were also expecting the same amount of water going to pour down at Sandy, but thank God that something like that never happened. But I want to contribute to the issue on board this morning. You see, our assemblies today are so powerless, so toothless that even if you go to the assembly to lodge any complaint, there's no one to take action. I'm talking from experience, I'm an assembly member. And I'm experienced to stand winning in my electoral area. I have been reporting this to the authorities severally. People in the community know very well that, even if assembly man sees me doing something wrong, nobody can do anything to me. Because even if the person goes to assembly to complain, nobody is coming after me. That is what is happening. They are so powerless. They have to be done at the assembly. Because this has nothing to do with a government coming from Accra to Takade, coming from Accra to all those things. Because he has appointed people. He has appointed people at various places and somewhere, every assembly. In Ghana has one of special engineers. Ask them. Ask them what they are doing at the assembly. Ask them, the engineers and the planning of what are they doing. When you go and send it to them, they'll say, hey.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Benedicta, calling in, obviously passionate about her submissions and what we need to do as a country to deal with this problem. But a number of you have sent in your messages and want to read just a few of them to us. This is coming from Prince Nanayao York. He says, good morning, Beatrice and Kukiti. The tragedy stems from the greed of landowners, local assemblies and surveyors, combined with indiscipline of some citizens who dump refuse during the rainy season. I'm deeply saddened by the lives that have been lost. And the president said it perfectly. Everyone just wants to build in Accra. This is coming from Alhaji Ibini Bush Shali. Says, good morning, Beatrice and Kukiti. Greet Shamima Muslim and the husband for me. Only God can save us. Let's keep on praying, not just for Ghana alone. As he says that the problem is also in Nigeria. Prince Henry Koforidia says, we need to be disciplined as citizens. We need to ban plastic products entirely. We need to do some serious demolition. We need to do some relocation of some agencies from Accra to some other regions. Some people should start thinking to relocate to Eastern region, Koforidia and beyond. Engineers must also do the work without mercy. God bless our homeland, Ghana.
Well, there's an announcement from ECG to all of us, and this came yesterday, the 29th of June 2026, because most parts of the city and some parts of the country as well do not have electricity at the moment. And they are saying that ECG wishes to inform the general public, especially our cherished customers, that the recent flooding in Accra has affected some of our vending systems and payment platforms, including the ECG Power app. ECG wishes to assure customers that it is working hard to restore the service on the Power app, hopefully by 8 a.m. this morning. The inconvenience caused to our cherished customers is deeply regretted. So just in case you've not been able to use your ECG payment platform and the ECG Power app, they were encountering issues yesterday. Of course, we all realized what happened in the country, but hopefully it's 7:24 this morning, and they are hoping that by 8 this morning it would be up and running. So please take note of this special announcement from ECG. In the midst of all this, remember to pack up your day the Milky Way with a rich, smooth taste of Peck milk shortcake. I beg your pardon. It's pure delight, available everywhere. Get some for your friends and family, especially those in distress who may not be able to buy their wache or regular bear or even anwamu this morning. Vendors are not working. It's such a dire situation. Let's help each other. We take a break. When we come back, we have a full house on the big issue to break down the flooding issue in our dear country, Ghana. We'll be right back.
from yesterday's rains and the floods. And already we're getting information from the Ghana National Fire Service that 12 people have died as a result of this. We have also data on how many fires, building collapse. We understand that 12 people were rescued from building collapse across the country, buildings that collapsed, and also other information coming in from the Ghana National Fire Service. We've seen the president do an aerial tour of the areas that were mostly affected in Accra. We've also brought you what the situation is going to be like in terms of the rains and temperatures across the country. This morning, we want to look into really beyond the causes that we are all aware of. What do we need to do to ensure that we're able to deal with this problem once and for all? The policies that we said we were going to implement, how do we look at implementing them just so we deal with this problem and the rippling effect on lives and property? I do have in the studio with me Mr. Ramsey Inusa. He's the Director of Research for the United Party. Good morning to you, sir. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, Beatrice.
I'll shortly be joined by ADO2 Alex King-Nate, who speaks for the Ghana National Fire Service. He'll be joining us. He's actually in studio. He'll just be taking his seat very shortly. I also do have with us in studio Mr. Kofi Tonto. He's a member of the MPP's communications team. It's great to have you here. Good morning.
Yeah, very good morning to you also.
Of course, I do have with us the Honorable Vincent Opwan Samoa. He's a member of Parliament Select Committee on Works, Housing and Sanitation. It's great to have you here as well. Good morning to you, sir.
Nice.
Thank you for joining us. And we'll be having via video call with us Mr. Gilbert Ni Ankra, who is actually head of public affairs with the Accra Metropolitan Assembly. He'll be joining us to also bring us his assessment and really what we need to do to ensure that we deal with this problem once and for all. Once again, my name is Beatrice Edu. But first of all, before I come to my panel, let's watch the president and what he said after the aerial tour of some of the affected areas. Okay, we'll be bringing you that very shortly, but perhaps I can get your initial reaction, Mr. Inusa, from what we witnessed yesterday, and we are still counting the loss of that.
Beatrice, let me say a very good morning to you, your good self, and to my fellow panelists on this platform, and to the good people of Ghana. Indeed, the Honorable Alan Kodo Tremantin, the leader of the United Party, did not take this news lightly. You realize that we released a press statement on this subject matter. And it's sad that the issues of perennial flooding in our country has been left without any substantive solution, any concrete solution that would mitigate the aftermath of flooding, economic, and of course, the life aspect as well. Let me use this opportunity on behalf of our leader to commiserate with the families of the bereaved, and indeed, may their soul rest in perfect peace. I think that there are different facets to this issue. Climate change, we cannot undermine its effect. Right. As we speak today, it's not only Ghana that is suffering from this flooding issue. I hear as this issue goes as far as even Nigeria. Lagos is flooded. I've seen pictures of Lome being flooded as well. Right.
Yes, yesterday we did the global impact from weather.
Exactly. But I want us to look at something here. And this is where I would blame the African leaders and the African Union. If you look at the global emission of greenhouse gases, right, continental-wise, Africa only emits 4 to 5% of greenhouse gases. Most of it is propelled by Asia, Europe, and then North America. Asia about 53%. But yes, still, when you look at their anthropogenic activities and this rippling effect on our climate and indeed our environment and our social life, it is overwhelming. And that is why we need to really discuss issues of how we are going to create some form of green taxes against these giants, right? China is one of the leading polluting nations in the world when it comes to greenhouse gas emission, right? So I think the conversation has to be real. We need to begin to talk about how we are going to tax these countries. Because let me tell you something. We have a huge, what do you call it, green belt in Africa that sequestrates carbon from the environment. And you know that in recent times, a lot of nations and a lot of advanced, what do you call it, policies have been propounding these theories of carbon credits, right? There's a huge carbon credit market, right? But we do not seem to gain anything from it. With all our forests that are doing the jobs for us, and also the forests in the Amazon and South America that is cleaning the environment, we don't seem to gain anything from it. So we need to begin this discussion. On our side, locally here in Ghana, issues of our attitude as Ghanaians, sanitation-wise, how we relate to our environment. We've seen the pictures. Beatrice, it's sad. Apart from water, you see garbage, you see filth everywhere. And it's time we really need to change our attitude towards our environment, because it's not going to stop anytime soon. The issue of also governance has also failed us. I am happy we have a personnel from the Ghana Fire Service. And let me use this opportunity to commend the personnel of the Ghana Fire Service for the tremendous work they've done for this nation. Look, if we are talking about agencies that are underfunded, right, and looked down upon, it's their agency. Yes, still, look at how they were able to save lives yesterday. With all the deficits in equipment that they have and all that, look at how they were able to save lives yesterday. So, Beatrice, I think that, of course, governance has failed us. How our local government would enhance its bylaws, ensure that people would have permits before they build and all that. It's also another thing. Why would you go and build in Ramsar sites, wetlands?
Which is why the president is calling for the immediate demolition of all buildings in waterways now.
I mean, it's the same script. That has been said some time ago, right? Government upon government. And, you know, we've had a flood that occurred in 1963 in Accra. And I think the Daily Graphic captured it that the day the floods were in Accra. Since 1963 to date, we've not found any concrete solution to how we are going to ensure that we mitigate the issues of flooding and how we are going to plan our city.
We'll be watching the president very shortly, but I want to get the latest from Mr. Alex Kinate, who is with the Ghana National Fire Service. Before we started the program, we had the information that 12 people were dead. You had been able to rescue some individuals. Please give us a breakdown of the data as we have it now.
Okay, so thank you very much. So with the 12, the numbers might even be a bit more than that. I'm looking at that, but death isn't something that you'd want to play games with. So with the information I have, verifiable information, 4 bodies were retrieved at Odona. We had 2 bodies also retrieved at Alajo. 1 person was electrocuted. 1 person, a man in his 60s, was washed ashore as a result of the flood. I was personally there. I called the police and we helped take the body away. At Alobushi, Achimota, we had a mother and a child also unfortunately losing their lives. A man also at Achimota Abufu also lost his life unfortunately. There was also a man and a woman. The woman apparently had given birth just about a month ago. Unfortunately,
that's already 13. So the numbers you've just given.
Well, I think so, maybe between 12 and 13. The numbers keep coming in every time, and we suspect, unfortunately, not to be an agent of doom, but by today, we should be recording more bodies.
And I'll be coming to you, Honorable Vincent, upon, let me perhaps get your preliminary thoughts right now, and I will get yours as well before we watch the president.
Yeah, let me express my condolences to the family of the bereaved. I saw some of the pictures on the social media. It wasn't good. Some kids below 10 years. When it happened to them like this, and if you are human, you have to empathize with the families. It is not good. And when you go out there to find out the reasons for these perennial occurrence, everyone will be able to tell you something. They know. But the problem we have is that we are not bold enough to take those bold decisions to ensure that the right things are done. So I believe that I listened to the president, the interview, and all the issues that he narrated are true. But to me, the most important thing is to have that political courage. Damn the consequences. Let's do the right things and solve this problem once and for all.
What's the guarantee that we are going to see that happen now? You're saying we have the political courage, but we hear this talk all the time when we are in the problem.
That is true, because he made mention of the fact that the moment you start the demolition, you get calls from all over the place. And those on the other side will say, oh, you see what they are doing to you, and all those things. And when they are in government too, the same thing happens. So to me, I think Parliament have a stake in this, because once a committee gives directives to institutions to act, we know Parliament, the committee is bipartisan. I chair, I have my ranking member, who was also previously even a Minister of State at the local government. And he's also very well versed in these issues that we have, because they start over Garrett and other projects previously, funding that was secured from World Bank to do a lot of work to resolve these issues. But this is where we are. So that should tell you whether the money was well spent or not.
And we'll be going into the details of the monies that have been spent or dispensed so far. But please, let me get your preliminary thought as well before we watch the president.
Yeah, so a very good morning to you and to my colleagues. Most of them I haven't met. This would be the first time. My brother, I do follow on TV. And let me re-echo what he also said with what the fire service is doing. Because he said it's preliminary and we are going to listen to the president, I would like to pause here, and once we listen to the president, then we can make our comments.
Fair enough. So let's watch the president. Yesterday, I did say that he spoke to the press after his aerial view of the situation. Watch this.
We just finished an aerial tour of Accra to inspect the flooded areas. Unfortunately, the flooding has been very extensive today for several reasons. One, the recorded rainfall today is one of the highest in several years. The Meteo are looking at approximately 140 millimeters that was dumped on Accra. Last year, the maximum rainfall was 56 on a single day. And so the volumes are much higher. And so there are many issues to the flooding in Accra. There's climate. If you look at the rainfall pattern from 2024, 2025, 2026, you see that increasingly every year we're getting more rain in Accra than we used to get. GMET say that in 2024, for a period of 30 days in June, we had 85 millimeters of rain. And then in 2025, it increased to 172. And then in 2026, for the same 30-day period in June, it increased to 333. And so the waterways are not getting a chance to recover before more rain is dumped. And the wet days are more. Out of 30 days, 22 days, it kept raining. And so there were only 7 dry days or 8 dry days in June. And so that's the climate side. That is an act of God that we can't control. But then there's also the engineering and the man-made causes. That is, like I said before, Accra is built between 2 natural bodies, the Kwapim Mountain Range and the Atlantic Ocean. And before Accra was built, the streams used to flow through this plain to reach the sea. Now, the British brought the capital to Accra, and in those years it was not a problem because Accra was a very small city. But as the population continues to increase and people continue to build, it restricts the path of the streams on their way to the Atlantic. So that's an engineering problem. We need to see how to open the channel so that the water can pass. But then there's also the other aspect, which is attitudinal and human behavior. That is dumping garbage in the drains, putting all kinds of items in the drains after we finish creating waste instead of sending it to the appropriate place. Even in the air, we discovered many illicit dumping sites.
And watch there, President John Mahama speaking to the press after his tour yesterday. But I want to get latest information from ADO1 Alex Kinate about the fire at the Odona area. I know yesterday, because of the levels of the water, you were impeded in attending to that issue immediately or urgently as you wanted to. Tell us, have you been able to quench the fire completely?
Yes, fortunately, as at 2:30 a.m., the fire was extinguished totally. We have our personnel still on standby to make sure we have what we call reignition, where the fire is likely to come back. So we want to be sure, especially since it's a place that has some slum attached to it. Wherever there are human activities, there's a tendency for fire to reignite. And so officers will be there trying to educate to prevent that. And also if there's any room for reignition, quickly we are able to nip it in the bud.
There were no casualties within that area?
Fortunately, not in relation to the fire, but with the flood. So our officers there performed double duty of both rescue and fighting the fire.
Thank you very much. And Ms. Akufo Tonto, you were saying that you needed to hear the president first before giving us your thoughts.
Yes, because it's very important. This dawn, I was struggling to sleep, so I had the chance to read some of the commentary and then also partially the comments the president's page posted. So I also wanted to hear from the president himself his full appreciation of the issue before I comment. Interestingly, from everything the president narrated, he discussed topography, how and where Accra is situated, and then discussed issues around engineering, contrary to his initial comment early this year, when the floods first came, that it was not an engineering problem. But today the president brings it back and says it's an engineering problem, then goes to blame Ghanaians. But then something was missing. The responsibility of the government, the role of the government, largely missing from his commentary, both on Facebook and then also from the 5 minutes video you played. The president said absolutely nothing about the role of the government and where we find ourselves. And that is why I want to read to you what the president said in 2024, just to help us.
His post in May 2024.
May 2024. I'm sure you've come across it before. I just want to read for the benefit of our audience. And this is what the president said. The recent heavy downpours in Accra and other parts of the country have led to extensive destruction of property and, according to reports, the loss of life of a young schoolboy. This has exposed the government's failure to manage and prevent floods effectively and evokes deep concern about its lack of comprehensive flood prevention and management plan. Many areas that in the past were unaffected by flooding today became inundated with least rainfall. So the president is blaming the government at the time. The president is highlighting the fact that other parts of the country where hitherto we had no flooding had been flooded. Then more importantly, the president continues, considering the huge sums of money allegedly spent by this government on draining the Odo and other flood prevention intervention. The present situation is distressing. According to the government, 200 million was spent on the Greater Accra Resilient Integrated Development Plan, which is the GARID. And the president goes on and on and on and on.
So the point you're making is?
The point I'm making, I've already made it, that the president shirks responsibility and blames Ghanaians.
What did you expect him to do for a president who's been in power for a little over 1 year? Or
I expect the president to take responsibility. It doesn't matter how long the president has been in power, because he's been a president before, and he's been a president for 1 year and 6 months. I expect him to take responsibility, because in opposition, he promised that when he becomes a president, he's going to take responsibility. In fact, if I finish what I'm reading, he says that my commitment is to prevent floods and offer solutions.
So I'm asking you a specific question of, when you say the president should have taken responsibility, what specifically were you expecting him to say?
I am expecting the president to say that the government also has responsibility in making sure we prevent the flooding as they promised.
You didn't hear him say indirectly when he said that we should be demolishing structures in waterways.
I should hear the president say indirectly. The president should take responsibility indirectly. Ghanaians should take responsibility directly, but the president should take it indirectly. Is that what he did? Did no, when President Mahama was blaming Akufo-Addo, did he ask Akufo-Addo to take the responsibility indirectly? How can we, in the greatest of imagination, expect a sitting president to take an indirect responsibility?
I'll come back to you to conclude on your thoughts, but I want to come to you, Honorable Vincent Opon-Asamoah, because you admit, even during your preliminary statement, that the Works and Housing Committee that you chair should have a responsibility in this.
Yes.
How do you think that over the years your committee has helped in solving this problem?
You know, previously, it had become a ritual. Anytime there's flooding like this, we just lead the cameras to those sides. We show Ghanaians where the issues are, and then we go to sleep. After that, the media also go quiet, and then we only wait for the next rains so that we'll go back. Unfortunately, this year I decided not to go out there, because to me, we need to find solutions more than just exposing the problems. Solutions are what Ghanaians are looking for. 2019, I remember Nanado led a team. They went to cut a sword at the Kole restoration. And that was the time that World Bank had given over $200 million. So after that, some series of disbursements were made. So if President had made those statements in 2024, that should tell you what the Ghanaians were expecting, because we had the money, yet we failed to do what was right. And when we requested for them to account, that was the time everywhere you hear about COVID, then something that happened there. And GARID money was swallowed by COVID at that time. So if President made those statements in 2024, it's justified, because since we came, we have not had that chunk of money to spend on that. But
so the question I'm asking is what your committee is doing. You've just talked about the GARID amount of money, $200 million.
Yes.
There is also the Greater Accra Metropolitan Area Gamma Sanitation and Water Project in 2013.
Yes.
And that was, I believe, the first administration of President John Mahama.
There were additional
$150 million. 2019, Greater Accra Resilient and Integrated Development GARID Project, $200 million. That's what you talk about. 2020, Gamma Sanitation and Water Project, additional financing of $125 million. 2023, GARID, additional financing of $150 million. 2024, Gamma Sanitation and Water Project, second additional financing, $30 million. And this data was put together by the Executive Director of Africa Education Watch, Kofi Asare, on his social media page. As a committee, you should be probing these monies that are coming in from the executive and be following up on how it is spent and the evidence of it? What did you do as a committee?
You know, the Gamma projects were basically the provision of wash facilities, sanitation facilities, toilets, and other. It wasn't meant for the drainage system. When we talk about Garrett was specifically meant for the drains in Accra and other parts of the country. Unfortunately, after visiting most of the sites, you could see that implementation was a challenge, most of the places. And when I saw the pictures at Circle, pictures of Circle, I remember the last time we paid a visit with the media, there's a point around where we have the GCB, and we were expecting that they will have to break into the Odo River. The drain from Paloma that's supposed to join the Odo. They have not been able to do that, even though money have been spent.
Why?
Yet the implementation have been a challenge.
Why?
You know, it is being managed, it's a World Bank, and they set up a Garrett institution like Garrett as consultants. And let me tell you, they employ a lot of private consultants. Monies are spent, but if you go to the ground, actual work has not been satisfactory.
Honorable, have we not failed to dredge the Odo because we have played politics with it?
No,
such
Odo,
that you need to move the people from the area who are contributing to this. And again, like you said, the opponent will say, look at what they are doing to you.
You know, I had issues with even the World Bank. The last time they had a meeting, myself and my ranking, we requested to sit in the meeting with the World Bank. World Bank wouldn't want us to move those quarters along the open drains where the project is supposed to be implemented. They wouldn't want us. To them, they have issues with that. And if you look at the pictures that we see, almost all the open drains, we have squatters along all the open drains. Meanwhile, we don't have sanitary facilities. So where do they dump their waste? Everything that they do, even we have Accra, people are railing cattle along these open drains. Where do they dump the waste? We know it. But the issue is that once World Bank will come with its conditionalities, what government will have to do is that we need to be deliberate. Let's make budgetary allocation. Let's get these people out of the place. If possible, we can even have construct roads about 20 meters out of the open drain so that no one can encroach there. Just go up there and look at the pictures along these open drains, and you see where squatters they live.
Great you talk about let's do this. When was the last time you had a conversation on this very issue?
There have been there has always been a statement in Parliament, but you know, certain things are supposed to be done by the executive, not the legislator, who will just come out with the issues. And we expect that that's why I said earlier, I said political will. Because those people, the squatters there, they are torn between the two political parties. You tag them, or you say we voted for you, why do you have to move us? And then all those political issues. But that is what I started by saying that we need to have that political will. This time around, damn the consequences. Because the issue is that once you move them and something is done over there, Ghanaians will, at the end of the day, appreciate what you did.
And I'll come to you very shortly, Mr. Inusa. But the question I want to ask you is, you're saying that sometimes it is within the premise of the powers of the executive. Parliament cannot do much. I know in our governance system, yes, we have independence of the arms, the judiciary, the executive, and Parliament. You call it separation of powers. But there's also checks and balances. And I believe that your committee should be in a position to do that checks and balances on the executive specifically.
You know, I had an interview on one of your stations. Immediately after that, I said my committee is going to receive petitions from Ghanaians, wherever you see people are built in authorized places, especially to block waterways. They can petition directly Parliament so that we can investigate. You know, the moment I dropped my phone, I had 2 calls. And one of them was a doctor. He said, Honorable, I'm so relieved because we have a lot of issues. But where to even channel these issues are the problem, because you go to the disassemblies, no one is prepared to, because most of them are even complicit in some of these activities. So immediately I asked that you send a copy of the petition directly to me before he even channeled it through the speaker. He gave it to me. At least, you know, Western Housing, we have a hydrology authority. They are the technical experts in this area. I forwarded the petition to them. They went and ran and have the report sitting on my table, just seeking the mandate of the speaker. And we will call, the media will be there, we'll go to the bottom, the estate developer who did that. And I think this is one of the avenues as a parliament we can also do to support the executive, because anytime the executive moves, it is partisan. But when parliament moves, it's bipartisan. And I believe that once we're able to do that, we'll also be contributing to the solution of the problem.
Mr. Yunus, are you understanding of what we're being told right now?
What I can infer with all this conversation, and indeed, the thousands of personnel who are risking their lives on the grounds as we speak today, will be highly disappointed that since 2013 to 2024, we've spent $665 million, not Ghana cedis, not Naira, dollars, to tackle this issue of flooding in Accra. Yet still, we've not solved anything. There hasn't been any proper concrete solution on the ground today. And it really has exposed the cracks and indeed our failure as a state. And I say this, that today, what we see today is clearly a paradigm of a failed state. That we are a country that is always reactive rather than preventative, right? And innovative in finding solutions. My brother Kofi Tonto started with a partisan jab. But you see, Kofi, let's be guided here. Akufo-Addo told us that the Odo River will be a tourist attraction site. And under Garrett, you realize that under your regime, as part of the Garrett policy, there was what? Early flood warning signals. Can you do your checks? And Beatrice, you can do your checks to see if any citizen got any SMS or any warning from any radio station whatsoever supported by the Garrett policy to warn them about the risk of flooding under the Garrett project. There was none. Yes, we are dealing with this issue. And of course, likewise, the NDC under Gamma. So, Beatrice, what I'm saying is that we should go back to the Maxwell Fry and Jane Drew master plan of our former colonial masters.
So let me bring you some of the pillars of the Garrett project.
Yes.
Climate resilient, drainage and flood mitigation, structural works, early warning, solid waste management, infrastructure, community initiatives, participatory upgrading of targeted flood-prone communities and local government support, among others. So, till date, you've read it beautifully. I mean, by the book, it sounds very reasonable. And if implemented, would mitigate these issues that we're dealing with. Now, out of this $655 million that we've spent, can you ask the personnel from the Ghana Fire Service if they have any boats registered in their name? Ask him. That's actually a question I would ask him. If they have any helicopters that they can use to operate to go and recover victims from these flood waters. Ask him. And he will tell you it's a big fat no. Yes, still, we spent $655 million of our taxpayers' money, and nothing has been done. And of course, not all is our taxpayers' money, but some even were granted as loans from the World Bank. So, loans. So, Beatrice, we need to ensure accountability. Indeed, people of Ghana deserve better. And that is why we are calling on the citizens to shine their eyes, to look at both parties and what they have done to this country to date. Beatrice, they should shine their eyes and look at both parties and look at what they have done to Ghana till date. Aside from the citizens shining their eyes, like you put it, how does accountability look like from your perspective? Beatrice, from where I sit,
from where I sit, I'm not sure, right, accountability even is a topic for discussion because we failed. Nobody's accounting for their stewardship. I mean, the former Minister for Sanitation, we had allegations, and I'll say it was allegedly, that there were millions of dollars in her bedroom. And later on, it was alleged that it was for her brother, her deceased brother and all that, right? Meanwhile, this person was charged with the mandate to drain the Odo. Yes, still, millions of dollars were for, and to date, we have a court. I do not understand our justice system. Honestly speaking, when an ordinary person goes to steal a goat, right, they jail the person for at least 5 years or so. But when politicians steal, politicians that are meant to ensure that the right things are done, that our monies are used in an egalitarian manner for the benefit of our society, they go scot-free. And they use all kinds of legal tools and legal shenanigans, and they go scot-free.
Won't you admit that it is how this particular case was handled? Because initially the special prosecutor was handling it. At the point he came to tell us that it wasn't under his purview and it had to be sent to Yoko back and forth. You don't think that it is how our systems, what kind of systems
it is part of the script. And that is why Honorable here is a parliamentarian. And that is why they have that fiduciary duty to the people, to ensure that all these legal lacunas that we have within our legal framework should be tightened up. And that is why we have called for a relook on the OSP bill. And that you realize that when it comes to fighting corruption, we have a lot of state agencies that are fighting corruption with huge overlapping mandates. Yoko claims to be fighting corruption. The BNI is fighting corruption. Shraj is fighting corruption. The police is fighting corruption. OSP is fighting corruption. The AG's office is fighting corruption. So who indeed is fighting corruption? So indeed, what we want to see the parliament do is that they should consolidate all regulations that talk about corruption and give the money to one agency that should fight corruption, as we've seen in other developed countries. And I believe that if we're able to also do away with politics when it comes to the appointment of these heads of independent constitutional bodies, right, then the person would have that sole independence to fight corruption. We've seen it under the MPP. Honorable Martin Hamidou, it's a clear example where he was speaking to the press and told us to our face, I mean the public, that he was not allowed to operate freely and that there was some form of political interference in his works, right? What then did he do? He resigned because he was frustrated. He had maybe the will as a patriotic citizen to fight corruption, but of course the executive will not give him that chance. And so, Beatrice, I believe that all is not lost. The United Party is here for the people, and we will stand with the people. And today, let me say this, that this $655 million that we are talking about since 2013 to date, that none has been accounted for. The day of accountability is yet to come. I do not see a doom for this Fourth Republic. But if we continue towards this direction, then, of course, I am a bit skeptical about how this Fourth Republic would survive.
Mr. Kofi, I'm coming back to you, and that was why I said that I will let you conclude your thought on this matter. I just read to us the amount of monies which have been spent from 2013. In addition to that, we have, and it's right here on the website of the Ministry of Works and Housing, that between 2018 and 2020, we also spent about 450 million Ghana cedis under the National Flood Control Program. So the question people are asking is, where is the evidence of the monies that have been spent to deal with this problem? Okay,
thank you very much. First of all, the Garrett money is $200 million that first came, or let me not say came as in given to government. That was funding that was secured. But as of June 2024, almost to the end of year 2024, only 130 million had been given to the government of Ghana.
Out of the 200?
Out of the 200, as part of...
The 2019 one?
What?
Because Is it a 2019?
No. The project was secured in 2019.
Okay.
But as of 2024, the funding that had come from that 200 million was 130 million. I have all the data here.
So
I will share the report with you. Your producer can share the specific screenshot on the screen from the Garrett report. As of that time, in fact, the report I will share with your producer was produced in June 2025. As of that time, the amount that had been released was 68% out of the 200 million. Then, in addition to the 200 million, another $150 million was also secured. When you combine it, that is where you get the 350 million, that money, the figure that's been going around. Combined, 350 is only 36% that has been disbursed or has been utilized.
Where's the rest of the money?
It's with World Bank and the government of Ghana. Because you see, what people have to understand is that when World Bank say that we are giving you X amount of money or you have secured X amount of money, World Bank will not just give the money to you outright. You actually go through what we call progression, and then they release it based on performance. Just like the IMF funding. IMF, government secured 3 billion with IMF, but they gave it to us in 7 tranches.
So let's assume you are saying that they release it based on performance.
Based on performance. In fact,
So
I have the performance. I have the performance tracker here.
Are you indirectly admitting that you did not perform is the reason they didn't
No,
release
actually,
the
I don't
amount
have
of
to
money?
say anything. I'll read to you what the current minister, AJ, went to the Garrett sites. The current minister, he went to the various Garrett sites. In fact, this one is May 5th, 2026, here on the Garrett website. And this is the Minister of Works and Housing speaking. The Minister of Works and Housing and Water Resources, Honorable Kenneth Gilbert Ejay, has expressed satisfaction with the progress of ongoing drainage improvement works in Carnation during a monitoring visit to key project sites under the Garrett project. This is the Minister of Works and Housing. In fact, I will read the specific quote from the minister to you. According to the minister, quote, "I am satisfied with the pace and quality of work so far, and I encourage the contractors to maintain this momentum to ensure the timely completion of these critical projects," unquote. This is the current minister visiting Garrett projects. So let it be stated on record that this government itself has admitted the performance of the Garrett project. But the record is this. What I want to state is, let nobody sit here that a Akufo-Addo government took $350 million and squandered it. No, that is a fat lie.
And let me get the data correctly. Did you say that you got 38% out of this?
36% out of the 350. I'm giving you 2 different figures. Pay attention. I said the first tranche that was secured was 200 million.
Yes.
Out of the 200 million, the specific number from the Garrett project is 127 million.
Yes, I got that.
Okay. Then another tranche of 150 was secured. Out of that 150, 0 has been released.
The import of my question, question is, you're saying that you didn't get the full amount, right? Now,
the government has not received the full amount.
Aside from the Garrett project, for which you quote the minister, the current minister for Works and Housing, the question is still where the evidence of the rest of the...
I'm confused. Are you asking me a question or she's asking me a question?
No, we're having
Please, just a second.
Okay.
I'm asking you the question. You're saying that you didn't receive the 400% of it.
Yeah.
So let's assume that the percentages you've given us really are the amount of monies you received.
Yeah.
The question still remains, aside from the Garrett project that you're quoting the minister on, the evidence of the works that were done. I just quoted to you the 450 million of the National Flood Control Program, among others.
So see, my sister, here's the thing. Here's the thing that we all have to, please, 1 second. We all have to address our minds to. If you listen to the current minister, and then you juxtapose it with the previous minister, the argument is that to fight the flooding problem, we need between $5 to $6 billion. Okay?
5 to 6 billion United States dollars. I have just told you, out of the Garrett, we have only received 127 million.
Mr. Tonto, I'm not sure you're answering my question.
I'm answering your question. Your question you are asking me is 400 something million was spent. I am saying that if you don't put the issues in its proper context,
yes,
which is what is the total expenditure we need to make to be able to completely eradicate flooding?
So the question is, out of the amount we received, we did this, we did that, we did that. That's what I'm asking, not the overall.
But I've given you some of the projects we have done. Are you saying that the 400 million is part of the Garrett project? You are saying that is a different funding.
I said it's for National Flood Control
Program. Is it part of the Garrett project? You see, let's not confuse issues.
I am not talking about Garrett. I'm just saying that. And earlier, perhaps I should refresh our memory. I gave the data about the Greater Accra Resilient and Integrated Development. Of course, that's the Garrett one we're talking about, 200. I've talked about Gamma, which is $150 million. I've talked about another Garrett additional financing, 150. Gamma 30 in 2024, and I'm asking you that you've stated that we didn't receive all the monies, as you said, and I'm asking that the ones you received, what specific project? Maybe we dredged the order. This is how much it cost us. We did this. This is how much it cost us.
You are stating specific projects that you are seeing the government embarked on. What I would hope for is for you to tell Ghanaians that this is what the project was meant to do. What I responded to was a specific funding, Garrett. Now, there are so many expenditure that will go into flooding mitigation. I mean, from time in memory, how can one person, how can I know every single funding that has gone into flooding since 2025 or 2023 or 2020? I'm one person. The point is, he made a specific comment on Garrett, and I shared my knowledge on Garrett. If you are referencing other expenditure, that is a discussion we can go into. But I specifically answered his comment on Garrett. So for you to throw out a different funding and tell me that I should tell you what that funding went into, how am I supposed to do that?
The reason I'm asking the question, you talk about the need for the president to take responsibility. And I'm asking the question that, okay, within this last period, we've had monies for various projects.
What period are you defining?
We're talking about between 2013 up until now.
So
we've
that's
had
good.
money for, and I think I did mention it earlier. So the question I asked was, looking at the impact, what we saw yesterday, it seems like we didn't even do anything at all. That is a broader... In as much as we admit that the flooding issue in Accra is multifaceted.
No problem. I'm saying that is a broader conversation. But you cannot hold me accountable for every money spent over since 2013, you said. You cannot hold me, Kofi Tonto, accountable for what Mahama did and everything. No, that's absolutely unfair to me. The specific request I responded to was what has been claimed that Akufo-Addo received. And I am saying, what Akufo-Addo received is not 350 million. What Akufo-Addo received is 127 million.
You admit that I'm not holding you responsible for what the first administration of the...
But you stated, that's why I asked you a specific question. What time period? And you said 2013.
So I
but how can I be responsible for 2013?
Monies have been spent since 2013, but we're talking specifically. And obviously you're a member of the MPP. We're talking about the period you were in power, the 8 years. The monies that were spent. And again, I don't know whether you want me to go through the monies that were spent again. I've done that.
No.
So if you can just answer that question, and I'll come to Mr. Nati.
First of all, you are introducing a new figure to me, which is another $150 million. That you referenced. You've actually stated two $150 million. You said one is from the Garrett project and another $150 million from another project, if I heard you correctly. So you have stated, or you have introduced another $150 million. That is new to me. What I responded to was the Garrett. So if there is additional funding that you claim came into the Akufo-Addo government, it's new to me. We will definitely look into it. But the record is that as far as the Garrett is concerned, Akufo-Addo did not receive $350 million. That is the point that I'm making.
Fair enough. You're making a point about the Gary project. I want to come back to you, Mr. Alex Nate, because yesterday, when we saw the impact, we were wondering why so many people have sent us videos, and yet we didn't see helicopters working. We didn't see boats immediately working. I know that's a point that Mr. Inusa made earlier, but really, what's the problem? You don't have any at all?
Logistics has always been one thing that, as a service, we've never been shy to talk about as a challenge. The government has already promised us to some retooling, which we are hoping that will come in early. The challenge for us, again, as you have rightfully said, is logistics. It's sad to say that we don't have a single boat.
You don't have a single boat?
We don't have a single boat as a service. And so, especially at Chadu, where we had to, where we rescued about 105 people there yesterday, we had to rely on the military bringing in about 3, the police bringing in about 3 boats, and the military bringing in 1 boat, and then we used that effort. I think there was this video where our officers were trying to rescue people, and one of our officers was falling into the water, and someone tried helping him. I'm sure that could have been prevented if we had some boats. Again, even in relation to the fire at Odona, if we had firefighting boats, that would have really helped, because we received a call in the morning, but we had to wait till later in the afternoon before we were able to make progress to get close to the scene of the fire. Imagine we had a firefighting boat where we were able to put our featherweight pump onto this boat. And when we put the featherweight pump onto the boat, we were able to prime the rainwater, mix it with our foam concentrate, and douse the fire. We could have prevented the fire from spreading if we had some of these logistics. We are hoping that in due time, looking at the kind of retooling, the accounts will say Agobe, we had some pickups given to us somewhere last year by the Honorable Minister for Interior, and we converted some of these pickups into rapid intervention vehicles that were situated advantage places where it's accident prone, like Konongo, Amasaman. We have some of these pickups there, but I need to say we still need more, because if we get private individuals, if we get benevolent organizations donating pickups to help us, we wouldn't have to now move a whole big fire tender for rescue, so that fire tender can still be at the station while the pickup attends to rescue missions. And then, because believe it or not, during rains, we record fires. People think when it's raining, it's a holiday. If it's a holiday, we wouldn't have seen the fire that we saw yesterday at Odona, where even though it was raining, there was a raging fire. And so that should let you know that it's not feasible that we have to move a whole fire tender to attend to a rescue when we could have used a pickup to get there quickly while the fire tender is still at the station to attend. So benevolent people can donate pickups. A private person donated a pickup to a station at Peki. That was very laudable, because the station at Peki attend to more accidents, more rescues than they even do for fires. And that pickup, the commander wouldn't take it home. He's my mate. It will be at the station and is being converted to a rapid intervention vehicle, because, mind you, whenever there's an accident, whenever lives are involved, every minute counts.
Every minute counts. So tell us specifically, before we have another guest by video call, what kind of challenges you faced yesterday, for instance, when you got to the various locations, including the fire at Odona?
So accessibility, as I rightfully said, was a big problem. Our response was curtailed. In the morning, for instance, there was a fire at Blue Lagoon, Sakaman. We had to respond to that. It was a story building on fire. Our team from industrial area got there early. They needed reinforcements. They had to call on our team from Circle to go and augment their efforts. Believe it or not, for over 1 hour, the team from Circle were stuck in traffic at Kanishi. Upon all the siren, we couldn't make way. We had to now return. And the people, the base, the fire team that were there had to still find a way to fight the fire, because there was nothing we could do. Mind you, floods affect you, it affects our response time. We get the people who say, we called you, I didn't come. But there are some of these problems. So accessibility was a challenge. Logistics, as I rightfully mentioned, is one. I'm sure if we had the right logistics during emergencies like that, we'll be able to employ some of these logistics. Again, we're hoping that we should be able to get the boats, as you rightfully said, both for rescue and for firefighting. Because when we get to the scene, for instance, as I said at Chado, when we got there, we had to now wait on the police and the military to bring in boats.
So if somebody was drowning, the person would have died before those items came in.
So, but when we get there and we have these equipment, we get there quickly, we're able to deploy. Sometimes even with recovery trucks, the fire service needs recovery trucks. We need private water tankers because sometimes when we get to the scene and sometimes it's not even about needing more crew, it's about needing more water. The hydrant situation is a problem. So we need water. But the tanker, for instance, would have to now rely on private tankers. Would have to now rely on calling assemblies, to now call on people. And the bureaucracy in trying to get some of these drip machines to even bring, that even happened at Tudu. Now making calls to try and get tankers to the place. So I'm sure it's not beyond some benevolent organizations, some benevolent people to donate pickups, to donate at least water tankers to the fire service to augment our firefighting efforts.
And I'll come back to you, the Honorable Asamoah, because I realized you wanted to respond to some of the things Mr. Tonto was saying. But I want us to go and speak to Mr. Gilbert Niankra, who is the head of public affairs with the Accra Metropolitan Assembly, before I come back to the panel in studio here. Good morning to you, sir, if you can hear us. Thank you very much for joining us.
Hello.
Hello, sir, we can hear you. Thank you very much for joining us. Good morning to you.
Good morning, my sister, and good morning to your cherished viewers on behalf of the Mayor, Honorable Michael Papa.
We've had the fire service giving us the assessment of the situation, including casualties. From the point of the AMA, what can you report this morning? What information have you gathered on the destructions and the casualties?
Thank you very much for the opportunity once again. Yesterday, the Mayor, Honorable Michael Papa, together with some other MCs from sister assemblies visited some of the affected areas to look at the extent of damage and also analyze the sanitation situation within that entire areas within the Accra Metropolitan Assembly. And let me use this opportunity to state that currently, as we all know, if you are looking at the AMA's jurisdiction, we are looking at areas such as Okankwe South, so the entire Okankwe South falls under the AMA. We also have Ashedu Keteke, where we have the Central Business District, part of Agboglushin. Then we have Ablekuma South, where we have Kolebu, all the way to Kamara and parts of Banana. But we share boundaries with our other assemblies. Yesterday, just as I'm saying, the Mayor visited these areas. Specifically, he was within the Graphic Road. He was also around the Kanishin First Light. We also went towards Kukumlimli. The team also visited Alajo, Kole Lagoon, Jamestown, where we had some building that collapsed, parts of the building collapsed. He was there yesterday. And if you look at the First Light, for instance, where we had some of the areas with respect to the road off, he quickly instructed that the sand or the silt that has been washed be moved away from the road quickly, so that at least it will aid the movement. If you look at around the circle interchange, for instance, where he also observed that these VIP trucks have parked, and that's the result. It's weakening the bridge. Immediately distract that the buses moved, and then they were able to move. But if you look at some of the communities where he visited, in as much as we were able to talk to the residents, most of the challenges, some of them, for instance, if you look at the Akuman Kokumpi area, for instance, there are some of the drainage storm drains that had not been completed. So quickly, the mayor had to arrange to ensure that all these things be done so that at least it could aid in the free flow of water. Let me also state that when we came to the Kole Lagoon, for instance, it was quite clear that there are some level of silt within the lagoon, and the mayor used the opportunity to also call on the ministry to find ways and means to help in clearing some of these silt that has been accumulated as a result of the rains. One other observation that we have to mention is the level of silt and the way as residents we don't practice sanitation is not the best.
Ms. Ankra, this is where I come in. Yes, I know and I do understand that the Accra Metropolitan Assembly, now you're not covering all the areas within Accra. A number of them have been taken away from you. But the areas under your jurisdiction, you're complaining about the filth in the system. As an assembly, you're supposed to be implementing our bylaws so that people will not do what they are not supposed to do. What would you say over the period the assembly did to reduce the impact of the flooding from yesterday?
And if you want to tone down the line of enforcement, let me state that the Mayor, Honorable Michael Kwakwalote, as I speak to you now, has commissioned a sanitation court for the assembly. And as far back as last year, this sanitation court has been operational. In the month of April, for instance, they were able to prosecute over 43 sanitation offenders. One of the recent cases that we are dealing with is some fuel attendant intentionally dumping waste that had been gathered on the metal gratings into the drain. So with enforcement, and this particular incident that I'm talking about was as a result of a good Samaritan who took a video and sent to the AMA. In as much as the assembly will enforce the laws, it is very important to also appreciate the fact that most of the people do some of these indiscriminate dumping at the blind side of the assembly.
What happened to the cameras that were installed? What happened to the cameras that were installed in our communities? They are not capturing them?
That is why for us as an assembly, we are not, let me say, working with such cameras to get sanitation offenders. But what the mayor has done, and physically, it's currently, as I speak to you now, we've employed more sanitation officers. We've employed a lot more youth, and they are out there. Immediately they see anybody dumping anything, they take a shot. And the mayor has placed a reward on such persons who come out to report people who dump indiscriminately into drains and all that. Because in as much as enforcement is key, as we also believe that education will play an important role, because it is not all the time that we will be around where people dump indiscriminately, and being each other's keeper within the communities would also go along with it.
I probably will have to come to you. I need to go to Odona right now. My colleague Joseph Armstrong is currently there monitoring the situation there for us. Joseph, if you can hear me, tell us what you can see. We've already had Mr. Nati telling us that the Odona fire has been extinguished. You're there. Tell us what you see.
Yes, indeed.
The Odona fire has been completely doused. You know that since a pocket of fire or pocket of smoke you see around here, the place has fully been doused. Unfortunately, they have not put in place any measures to prevent people from coming close because this has now become a disaster scene or a crime scene, if I will put it that way. But you could see people walking here once again, no barricading, no cutting off of the area, and people are just having a field day, coming in to pick whatever thing they want to pick. And you see right behind me the number of people who have trooped into the market square, and this is supposed to be a world market, but no security personnel seems to be here to control movements, and you see the sharp metals and all that you see around, and not really good scene. Once again, we want to call on authorities, the safety authorities, to do the right thing, not waiting for the disaster to occur before coming to, then again, give us the rhetorics that we hear all the time. Now, Beatrice, let me take you through what really happened here. Yesterday, the fire started, and the fire service was not unable to get to the seat of the fire, leading to about 200 and more of these shops totally being consumed by the raging fire yesterday. The properties involved in this is so much. This morning, owners are here, wailing, crying, sitting not far from where I am. Get close to some of them and pick their thoughts, how much they invested in this shop, and the fact that this is the first time this particular market, the Odona rubber market, is experiencing a fire outbreak, and they're losing everything that they've labored for over the years. Now, let me also say that Ghana Health Services would want to visit this market as well, because if you step out from where I stand, you see food items trying to be salvaged by the hawkers and owners. I saw what we call willy, people trying to wash it, send it back onto the market. I saw yam, I saw plantain, I saw onions being washed by the owners here, trying to resell it on the market, and so much food item, even rice that has been soaked in the flood waters are being washed to be cooked and sent onto the market. And if you go out there right now, you understand what I'm saying. Let me finish talking to these people and I'll walk you through what is happening outside there, and then you will appreciate what I'm saying. The Ghana Health Services will have to visit this place to get some education to these people so they understand what exactly is happening here. It's not a joke. I'll talk to this young lady who has been crying since the morning when I got here. Well, she has declined to talk to me. Madam, do you have a shop here? What shop?
Patron, me mama na shop was.
Oh, mama na shop. Oh, mama na why?
Patron, you know how no.
Okay. Let me talk to others who are ready to talk to us, and then Madam, let's say.
Nyami adom.
Who's shop?
Me was shop wa. Me ton rubber boats and konya drums, ice chest. Nyomani nyine bi me ton. Ne mo mpese medical cars ambiansa. Asemu etu efite nida abepi musabre. Omam panyifo bi enu wa watu ni nan abaha. Ababe hwe se na atu ne ma na so mun kai se ye ni omu nyina na wo Ghana ha se na mu hia ye mu yesu ye mo mo no se yesu ye hia omu mu a omo na me happy yourself me sika ahye more than 4 billion and ope dia me dimpo me ni bi o me ni bi omu ntu omu ni behwe yen omu ntu omu ni behwe yen na bibi ye nsuru mo te yesire omu se ni da so ni omu nyakopon obo kandini a no obo ne chirimafo ye ne ye omu chirima omu meso ye mu yesire omu pa ye bibia shi
I'm not say animal shi
anopa no nsia na meti nya akọ ne kwa me nam kwanso badwumam na meti say ja to hanom e ma de wa ye 95 service from point me ma inside e medum jade bio ye bibia say o man payin payifo
agency hada
debi janto hada iso de bia yiye afi bia iso yiye enso jade bi nto ye da yakoba etse mpanyifo mo mra obi mra kake on for the numanyam keke and from mra ne wu say yenso no ye kagana maemu.
So for her, her complaint is the fact that since yesterday till now, no state official has been here to console with them or even take their name to at least assure them of some compensation whatsoever. But so far, nobody has been here, and they are waiting for now is the state officials coming in here to support them. One or two. But what is happening here now is that it appears that maybe the state authorities are tired, because yesterday I saw the member of parliament around this area standing in throughout, also with the MC of the Clote Kole Municipal Assembly all being here. But this morning I've not seen any of them. You're not even NADMO or the fire service or even the Ghana Police Service to put the place in order, leaving the place open for anybody at all to come in. But let me also put on record that we have two faces of the shop. There's one on my right and one on my left. The one on the right seems to be in touch with not much distraction, but the one on my left is completely destroyed. I'm told about over 200 shops involved with so much money in there. Let me talk to this madam and find out from. Let me come to you, madam. What do you sell here to?
Your friend me Rose, me ton ice chest drum in Konya. Any boss, nina me ton bi, bibia me ton bi. Na Andra adiachi yako weekends ye be juma ya sorry. Ye de ya hade enim se nso ba ha. Enti nso na start ato saa enti de enim se ya hade nso ni ba ye ba betwitwi ye niema ho na ya sa betena ho na ya ton. Nanso ye ba wo kwan so na ye se ha yiri ye se yo ye ba nanso ni tia na ya ba ye adwuma ye wo se ye nanso afi de ye kakra na ya ba ka kwantimfi ye ntumi right inside afi ye kakra ye se afi de nye nso ni mpo na eja e na ato ha ebisi wo ye ni mu ebisi wo ye chi aha ye wiase nyina na wa ha ye o na ye ka ne sen afi ye hu de ye nya fire service fo aba nanso baby ensu na kokeka no omuntimi mba inside enipa nso trap wo inside na ne wo so omudi omu boat no esim na omu yiyi nipa no ye gina ho ye hu de ye nya o ye millions of cedis ye wiase de ya bra de ya tre bom nyinala aha na guo rubber for de bia de sika shem ye di shem de ye nya bia di shem supplies for my niam ye di gum ye wholesales ebikita wholesales 10 more than 10 ibe bia niam gum more than 15 shops ni nyina ko ye ntumi amfa pio ye niam ni nyina sefite no anajo ebe pem ne yakumetsi yesremo de adri yeboafo ni nyame nanso nyankopɔ de fani pamu ena ode boa yesremo ma panyimfo emoa Ghana ha amaya wa kwa mu nyina omomeso ye modona market ye hia mumua ye hia mo sambo maboa ye ne yehu ya tofom ye hia mo
your first thing
me ba cho me di Rose entry.
Rose Entry, of course, not a happy woman this morning as she explains and narrates what happened yesterday and also how much she has invested in her shop here, and the fact that state authorities have not been here to even console with them alone is worrying, and they are calling on the market leaders, state authorities, also that of the leadership of the market queens to come to their rescue. And she says that she has also invested so much, at least nothing less than 400,000 cedis has been invested in this, and then they've lost everything. Let me take you outside now to see the clear picture of what happened here yesterday, and the fact that people are still trying to salvage food items, including willy, plantain, yam, tomatoes, onions, even soaked rice to resell it back onto the market is a big issue that state authorities would have to take much interest in and ensure that these food items does not get back onto the market. But as it
and we do apologize for the quality of the video and the sound in the latter part of his interaction with the people, and indeed he trying to give us a bit more perspective as regards what's happening around the Odona area. But let's try to get really some answers as regards what's going to be done right now. I still do have in the studio with me the Honorable Opon Samoa. As the chair of the Housing Committee, Works and Housing Committee, what are you going to do? You've seen the impact, the devastation.
You know, I was laughing when Kofi was making submission, but the minister visit to Kaneshi. Let me tell you, that's only one side. We have over 10 sites. Okay. And if you go to the other side, you will not be happy. Okay. Yes, because as I speak with you, the contractor who was working Paloma, they've terminated the contract. And then you go to Odo, the siltation of Odo, we have to be desilting it. But unfortunately, once you desilt, they dump it just at the banks of the drain. And then when the next rain comes, it's back. So look as if a lot of resources that we pump into the dredging of Odo has not yielded the necessary impact.
What your committee is doing?
If you have to tackle it, we need to tackle from the Kweu Hills, trees, up hills, people are building, and there's a lot of erosion. And those siltation, once we have left the land bare, and there's so much erosion, it will definitely be. And then the issue of sanitation. I believe that the MMDAs, the municipal and district assemblies in Accra, should be up and doing it. You know, right now, 80% of the common fund is going to the assemblies. So right now, there are a lot of resources. The directives that are given, I think they need to vary it for Greater Accra. And most of the resources should go into these flood control issues, building of drains and other things. And that's what we are going to do as a committee. We will invite the minister. They have to vary it.
As in the Minister for Works and Housing?
The Minister for Local Government.
Okay.
Yes, that if they can vary it from, for the districts in Greater Accra, so that a chunk of the money will go into flood control, building of concrete lining. You know, as part of the Gary project, we're supposed to build detention ponds. Detention ponds, we have to be very deliberate, build like, let me call it lakes around, so that the volume of water can be absorbed in some of these detention. It was part of the Gary project, which had not been implemented. Unfortunately, it has been poorly managed by the previous administration, and the current administration will have to review, and if there's a need for termination, we terminate and re-award so that we can get value for money. And I agree with him. It is not all the money that were approved have been disbursed by the World Bank. Because 2024, before they exited office, we even approved some money, about 150 million. That money has not been spent yet. It has not been spent because, you know, I made mention of those squatters along the
Odo area.
Odo. And as part of the World Bank, we were asking them, the committee asked that they should move them away so that the project could proceed. But the World Bank said no, they will not allow that.
So what will you do now?
So what we have to do is the government should have, like I've done with Big Push. I think in 2027 budget, there should be budgetary allocation, just like they are doing for the Big Push. No road construction, you construct drains, but we need storm drains because all the smaller drains will discharge into storm drain. So once you construct roads, you give money to the Ministry of Road and Highways, and then you don't allocate so much to Works and Housing to construct those drains. It's like when there's major rain, almost all the roads that we are constructing will be washed away. So we need to be deliberate about that. So we are going to at least put a bit of pressure on the government to make allocation for the Ministry of Works and Housing. And then we need to follow it up because money is not the issue. Because if money is the issue, that guaranteed money will not still be sitting there. Exactly. It is the implementation and political interest. Because instead of us awarding the contract to people that have capacity to build, we'll just award it to cronies. Let me tell you, all the consultants that were appointed, some of them didn't even have what it takes to be consulting for World Bank. Yet World Bank allowed that to happen. And you could see that most of them were just party cronies that were just being given some resources.
So indirectly, the lack of due diligence on the part of the World Bank also affected the project?
Definitely. I question myself that I thought World Bank and all those institutions are insulated when it comes to some of these things, but they are all complicit when it comes to some of these things. So I believe sincerely that project should be reviewed. The money has not been withdrawn. It's still there. They have not spent most of them, even including the 2013 one, because I was a deputy minister at that time. The project was being implemented by that ministry and local government at that time. Only $10 million was disbursed. Yes, up to 2016. The rest of the money was there. When you took over, that money was there. So we need to account for what we have spent. To me, we have not had value for money because the results we are seeing clearly points to the fact that we have not done well when it comes to implementation of those garage projects and earlier interventions that we made. And to me, if you ask me, we need to do a lot of demolition, especially squatters that are along open drains in Accra. Everywhere you find fitting shops are dotted along open drains, and most of the kiosk estates are on open drains. I wanted you to...
Kiosk estates?
Yeah, we have kiosk estates. We have kiosk estates along the open drains. I was asking you to ask that the man you interviewed on.
Yes.
Yes, because they are supposed to control that.
Yes.
We have sanitary facilities along those open drains because all the waste that they generate, where they do dispose all these drains? Into the gutters.
I want you to land on your thoughts and I'll get the final word. You're done?
So, to me, I believe that MNDA should be up and doing, Minister of Local Government should be up and doing, and I expect that as the president to be sanitation should be one of the KPIs. Seriously.
For all the municipal assemblies?
For all the municipals and these assemblies, if we are not up to it, then during the review, some of them will have to move away. Yes.
ADO1.
Okay, so I guess a lot has been said. As a service, we are always committed, irrespective of the limited logistics. There's never been a time when someone would call on us where we wouldn't have solutions. We always find a way. We just need support. I believe that it's high time that when people are leaving their homes, they check the weather forecast, know what the weather is saying. One other thing that they have to do is to be able to identify high points within their areas. Periods like this, talk to family members who stay in not flood-prone areas and then try and move to them. Again, a lot of investment has to be done in public education when it comes to waste disposal. Meshes can be created. You know, I don't know if you know how this mesh works, where it's placed in the gutters or in the drains. So when plastics are being disposed of in these drains, the mesh is able to separate the waste from the water. So that at least it's a solution to be able to help us. I believe that task force should be created. I'm not too sure about the task force. I don't have much information about the task force being created by the EME. But then the people within should even be used as watchdogs. Because a lot of the times when people take videos, these people are with people in the same communities. So these same people are the best people to be the watch. And I believe that once we are encouraging them to be whistleblowers, they should be protected. So then it should be done in collaboration with the police, where if someone films someone or someone reports someone, if there's any reprisal attack on the person should be prosecuted. So that when people feel that they are protected, if they blow the whistle, they would go all out to be able to help with being able. So I believe as a service, we are committed. Our emergency numbers 192 0302 772 446. It's always active. Please, those calling me, if you call me, I'll still give you the emergency numbers. I have friends who call me that, oh, my place is flooded. I'll give you the emergency numbers because I am not. I might speak for the fire service, but I am not the fire service. So call the emergency numbers. People often will call radio stations that, or TV stations. My place is flooded. Is that the emergency number? You'd see people using their phones that, oh, fire service, where are you? My place is flooded. Come. How do we come? Yesterday, on one of the stations, they put me on with someone who said she was distressed at Chadu. And we asked, okay, so where's your location? She said, I'm close to a big gutter. How do we locate you close to a big gutter? How many? You see, and so it becomes very unfortunate. Call the emergency numbers. Yes, during times like this, a lot of people are trying to get through to us. During times like this, we record prank calls. Unfortunately, we are trying to deal with it. But then again, we would encourage people that if you call and you're not getting through to us, keep calling. And then that should again reignite your passion to be each other's keeper. Because once someone is pranking us and you look on unconcerned, the time that you need us, when you're trying to reach us, you might not be able to get through to us.
All right, let me read this statement coming from the Ministry of Works and Housing, issued yesterday, and it says that the ministry has fully accounted for the $200 million Garrett project money. And it says that in a statement, of course, issued yesterday, the ministry disclosed that as of March 2024, $127.12 million had been utilized, with $65 million allocated to support COVID-19 related expenses under the contingent emergency response component. Component agreed upon with the World Bank and included in the project appraisal document. It says $34.33 million of the amount drawn down was used for Garrett activities, and the remaining $27.79 million represents the bank balances as of reporting period. And so that's the latest coming in from the Works and Housing Ministry regarding the Garrett project. Please, let me get your final thoughts on this.
That vindicates the point that I've made here, that indeed 127 only has been disbursed. I think we thank God that that has been vindicated. And then also, as Minister said, Honorable MP said, yes, various governments have had challenges. And so I think at this point, we really need to look at the solutions. For me, I think one of the challenges facing us is our land tenure system. What do I mean by that? Who owns our lands? You know, when we talk about indiscriminate building, it's largely because when you look at even inner city Accra, that's one issue. But Honorable mentioned the part about people who are building on the hills, which is also contributing. Who are the people selling those lands? And who is allowing them to build? So I think the government, it's high time the government takes interest in land ownership in certain strategic places. Because if individuals own the land, the individuals will sell, people will buy, people will build. And we all know the zoning challenges we have in this country. So we really need to go back to our land tenure system and see how we can, to an extent, the government can consummate as many of the lands as possible, own it, to stop the indiscriminate building that we are seeing. Number two, if ever somebody goes to get the requirements and the permits to build, I think those who issue the permits must be held accountable. Yes. Now, here's the thing. We say the assemblies give the permit, but who at the assembly gave the permit? So I am proposing in my thinking that if Kofi Tonto goes to get a permit from an assembly, that permit must be tied to an individual who issued it. That individual who issued the permit, his name or her name must be on the permit. In fact, if on my wall, if I build my house on my wall, there should be a small plaque that states that this came from this assembly issued by this person. So we can begin to hold individuals accountable. And then lastly, there are some young people, especially this young girl on TikTok. I don't know if you've seen her. Very, very quickly. She's been sharing some creative ideas on how to solve flooding. Why can't we engage some of these young people as part of the new and innovative ways of solving this issue, in addition to the old and other methods? So I think that young girl and other young people, let's quickly round them up and bring them into the process of solving the issue.
Thank you very much. Mr. Inusa.
Well, Beatrice, I think in eulogizing the fire service, I also forgot to mention the police and then the military as well. Yeah. So I do not want to be biased, but I have to clear.
But at least I'm glad that at least you recognize the hard work.
Oh, definitely.
Most of the time we underappreciated the fire service, and so it's hard for me to hear that.
So, Beatrice, I think that we in the United Party would still sing the song of accountability, that $655 million used to tackle the flooding issues in Accra till date, and we've not seen any solution for it.
But where are you getting that figures from?
We're looking at from the 2013 Gamma. If you look at Gamma,
It's the
all
amount
the
of money I
figures that
mentioned.
were spent, if you
Including
add
the
up,
garage?
including garage, yes.
So
Yes.
are you talking about all the garage drawn down or just the garage secure? Because you see,
The garage drawn down, no, not secured. Please,
let's
I'm
please
saying
finish
that-
with your
No,
thoughts.
no, no,
I need to go.
No, please,
So please
respectfully.
finish
All
with your thoughts.
In the United Party, we believe that there are solutions. And part of the solutions that we think the government should look at is to go down history lane and to look at the Maxwell Fry and Jane Drew master plan for Accra. As part of this master plan for Accra, they enhance in that policy document, there was some form of enhancement of what we call urban growth, right? It was regulated and areas were also zoned. So you cannot have an industrial hub in a residential area. And we've seen that across the length and breadth of Accra. We have to zone our areas, and we also need green belts. Do you know that today, the last, I would say, reserve forest in Accra today is Achimota Forest? And we know how these green belts can mitigate the issues of climate change, right? And of course, the assembly. We need to enhance digital tools, right, and softwares and technologies that will track these permits and ensure that they're able to look at how people have advanced with their building and meet the building code and standards
Indeed.
of our country.
Thank you very much. You're done?
Yes, I think you've rushed me, so I have
Please land on your thoughts. Please land on your thoughts, and then I could wrap up. Yes.
And indeed, Beatrice, lastly, I think that the Ghana Fire Service, again, as we're speaking about this morning, you know, I think the government had enough time to mitigate some of the deaths that we're talking about. As early as, I think, April or so, GMET issued a warning that June, July would have serious flooding and rains in Accra.
So we should have taken.
So we should have taken the steps. You understand? We are always reactive rather than preventative. And that is the problem about Ghana.
All right.
So indeed, but all is not lost. United Party is here to stay. United Party is here to stay, and Ghana will definitely rise again.
And Ghana will definitely rise again, he says. Thank you very much, Mr. Ramsey Inusa, Director of Research with the United Party. Thank you for joining us. Also to you as well, ADO1 Alex King Nate, who speaks for the Ghana National Fire Service. Thank you for joining us. Mr. Kofi Tonto, member of the MPP's communication team. Thank you as well for joining us. Also to you, the Honorable Vincent Opwan Samoa, the Chair of Parliament Select Committee on Works and Housing. Thank you so much for joining us as well. And earlier, we also did have with us Mr. Gilbert Niankra, the Head of Public Affairs with the Accra Metropolitan Assembly. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us. I want to say a big thank you to Pamoni Clothing in East Legon in Accra for my clothing this morning. And let me also remind you that the big issue is sponsored by the University of Gold Coast. Now, whether you're aiming for a specialist MBA in marketing, communication, operations, supply chain, human resource management, finance, entrepreneurship, innovation, or business intelligence analytics, or you just want to advance through our dual MBA or Chartered Manager MBA, University of Gold Coast gives you options that match your vision. And if your next step is an MSc in International Relations, Communication, International Marketing, International Law, Security, Diplomacy, Accounting, Finance, or Human Resource Management, an LLM in International Law, Security, Diplomacy, or an MA in Biblical Studies, Practical Theology, the pathway is open. Apply today because at University of Gold Coast, we make it practical, flexible learning, flexible entry, and flexible payment. Study around your work and life, choose routes that fit your background, and pay in convenient installments. Your dream deserves structure. Your future deserves strategy. Of course, your purpose deserves training. Apply now, www.ugc.edu.gh. Call or WhatsApp on 026 388 8555. University of Gold Coast, building leaders for the nations. And you're still here on Newday on TV3. When we come back, we'll bring you some more. Do stay with us.